Now I personally really enjoy learning about games, and I want to go through the development and beta of Super Mario Maker 2 in this video. So if at any point you enjoy the video, please make sure to drop a like. But with that being said, come and join me as we look at all the small and major changes from the beta of Super Mario Maker 2. Now luckily, since Mario Maker 2 is a course-making game, I'm able to easily recreate any scene and spot the differences. For our first difference, we can see that the radial menus each have a slightly different coloring when compared to the final game. Interestingly, the Yoshi egg isn't featured in the items menu like it is in the final game, despite not being unlockable. To me, this could mean that it either belonged to a different category like Gizmos, or was originally supposed to be unlocked. The chain jump render is also slightly different, with the post being moved closer to the main body in the final game. In the terrain menu, the normal turn block and question block have switched positions. Then we see that we would have been able to scroll from the terrain instantly to the gizmos, which isn't possible in the final game for whatever reason. Kind of a negative change in my opinion. Then we get to the main UI, and boy is there a lot of changes. Starting at the left, we can see that the frog has a completely different facial expression. We then see that the ground is a feather, while in the final game it is just some squiggly lines. The clear conditions icon has also completely changed in the type of flag and the color. The play icon also has a little slit that you can see right here that isn't present in the final game. Shifting to the top of the screen, we see that the ground render is a little closer up to the top in the beta. We also see that instead of remaining where the magnifying glass is when selecting an item, the item automatically moves to the hotbar. Speaking of the magnifying glass, the color for the handle is different in the beta. The hand icon looks a bit different as well in the beta, and it doesn't have the red outline seen in the final. The shopping cart is also a different color in the beta, being white here while it's much darker in the final. The last UI change that I saw for now is that the undo dog looks slightly smaller in the beta, however this might just be me. There doesn't appear to be any changes for the rest of the scene, so moving into the next one, we see the change that inspired this video, being the original look for the Twisters. The way they look here is completely different than the simple one seen in the final game. I'm definitely happy they changed it, as we will get to see the look in New Super Mario Bros. U later, and it is not pretty. I'm very happy they changed it to the new simple design. Level. The stage is missing 4 coins, but the player has already collected 4 too, so that's why I think there are 4 missing. Also, this takes place in the editor, as we'll see with most of the story mode stages coming up, which is just interesting since you can't go into the editor in any of the story mode stages. Interestingly, it's in the Super Mario Bros. 3 style instead of Mario U like the final. Since a lot of the puzzles revolve around the propeller suit, I wonder if this level was pretty different in the beta. The next level could possibly be the level Snake Blocks in the Sky, however there are tons of differences, like the coin placement, the snake block type, and the game theme. However, it is similar, so I thought I would mention it, however it wouldn't surprise me if these are completely different levels. Now the snow icon here has also changed a little bit, with the snowflake placement slightly changing. There are a few changes, such as the yellow mushroom being replaced with the pipe with Yoshi's in the final game, and a few new coins being seen in the final. The next level is Dash On and Dash Off, and it doesn't appear to have any changes. The next level is coin collecting on an unmanned airship. Ironically, this level was used to show off the new custom scrolling, despite not having any auto-scroll in the final game. Speaking of the custom scroll, the birds look completely different in the beta compared to the final. Now we finally move on to the brand new 3D World mode, and this is where most of the changes are. Now there are a ton of different renders, and there seems to be 2 big things connecting them. They are usually either from Mario U, so that they were changed to be more unique in the final game, or they were too 3D and made more flat in the final. The blocks, bricks, and piranha plants all seem to have been changed to make themselves more flat images. The pipe has pretty much had the opposite happen, with it becoming more 3D in the final game. Inside the radial menus, we see that the ice block, invisible block, semi-solid does this as well, but it's more interesting as this semi-solid isn't even used in the 3D World theme. Porka Puffer, Piranha Creeper, Thwomp, Hop Chop, Spring, Stingbee, and Skip Squeak were all changed to be more flat images for the final game. The tent coins, which looked awful originally, but this is pretty obviously a beta model, but still happy they were changed. The Cheep Cheep, the bloopers, the spinies, and the ant troopers again slightly. Porcupuffer is moved out of the main enemy radial menu. The order is all mixed up in the second enemy's menu, with the bully also being moved to the different one in the final. Originally, there were also only 3 menus, but now we have 4. This is likely done because there are less enemies per menu now, instead of there being more enemies in the final. We then see that the menu to change enemy status has been completely changed from the beta. For one, it has a completely different background. The fire piranha plant, wings, and parachutes renders have completely changed. And in the final, they're all in one row, while here they are separated into 2 rows. Also, we then see them place a cat bell, which to me looks a lot more orange than the one seen in the final game. This doesn't hold true for the menu one, just when you place it down. The level seen here is Hello 3D World, and the only difference I saw is the Goomba possibly being placed slightly farther back in the final, and this piranha plant having a larger detection range in the beta. The beginning also doesn't have an ant trooper, but it's a sting bee instead. The cat bell is also a progressive power-up in the final game. Our next shot seems to be part of the same level, but the underground section. Now this is quite different from the final game, such as the breaks at the side, and most obviously, it's in the desert instead of underground. This makes me think that this might have originally been its own level, but was changed to be the underground part of Hello 3D World. The next level appears to be an early version of the Underground Menace with Our next clip is again from Hello 3D World, and it has no noticeable changes. The next one is from 100 Coins Under the Sea, and while the level itself doesn't appear to be changed, the amount of coins needed, being obviously 100 in the final, was lowered from the beta requiring 113, which shows that this level was slightly altered at least somewhere. The next clip comes from Bonsai Bill Ambush, and while again the level itself hasn't changed, noticing the ground here, it has a completely different texture than the ground from the final's 3D World airship. The ground that's 1 block thick also has a different pattern in the final game where it's just glowing dots, while here in the beta there were arrows. This was likely done to stop any confusion on if the ground were conveyors. Now I wasn't able to find the next 2 stages, so if they are story mode levels let me know, but if it isn't, then I bet these stages might have been scrapped or they might have just been made for the trailer. The closest level I found to the next one was Red Yoshi's Highway of Flames. The changes for this level include the game style changing and the removal of Bowser in the clown car. The final level is one for the first trailer, but we still have the direct. Since it's later on in development, there will be a lot less to go over. However, since it is longer, it has about the same amount of information. Something interesting of note is that this direct is taken from at least 2 different builds of the game, because at one point we see the original Twister model and the new one. Now I'm only going to cover scenes with changes, as with the previous trailer pretty much every scene was changed, but the direct doesn't have as many changes, but either way let's jump right into it. As you can see, this slope is able to be placed over ground decoration without destroying it, like in the final game. This is a really weird thing to cut, and this feature probably could have been used to decorate some levels. We then get to see a little bit more of Under the Angry Sun stage, before it was turned into a new Super Mario Bros. Course. Our next level is a near complete version of Snake Blocks in the Sky, however these blocks here are replaced with coins in the final game. Speaking of these blocks, they are actually gray here, while they turn brown in the normal game. I think this is another unfortunate change, as the gray just fits the snow theme a lot better, more unique. We next get to see the level On-Off Switch Research Expedition, and there are a few changes during the chain shop part. In the final, the box is much bigger and contains coins. In the beta, the on-off switch is attached to the wall, there aren't any ground decorations in the final, and finally the ground up here. While the level itself isn't different, look at the color of the ground. It's orange instead of the normal. This orange color was originally planned to be used. It would have been nice to have. But alas, some things aren't meant to be. Personally, I like the orange color better than the blue, but, what can we do? Our next change is something from the original teaser, where the coin collecting on an unmanned airship still auto-scrolls despite not doing so in the final game. If I were to guess, this is probably done because they didn't want people to get stuck without collecting. We then see on-off rail switch again, and the only change I could find is that the color of the track needed to get the big coin is red in the beta, while it needs to be blue in the final. We then there's a ground decoration in the slope at the start, which we said earlier isn't possible to make in the final. Interestingly though, there is still one under a slope later on in the level, which is very curious. Afterwards, we see Molten Rain, with the small change being the ground decoration has a stem in the beta, as opposed to being floating in the final game. I took it seriously when I'm really trying to find every small thing. We then see Ancient Seesaw Fortress, which has quite a few block changes, along with one-ways added in the final game, and the arrow and 10 coins being moved. The second bridge is also slightly... We then enter the and the theme of the level being changed for the final. We then see Goomba Clubhouse, which has quite a few changes, such as there only being 4 pink coins in the beta as opposed to the 5 in the final, and this mushroom not being present. The clear pipe going to the pink coin scene created here is also not present in the final level, and quite a bit has changed, such as the clear condition not being present in the beta, and the room you warp to instead of Pom Pom. We then see the level Threat Level Porcupuffer, that has this warp box changed from being a normal one to needing a key in the final. And the next room is also different, with the ground being turned into spikes, and there being a star in the final version of the room. Our next level is Blink Blank Blunk, in which the sub-area changed to having both types of blinking blocks on the same row, and in the beta you were able to go where the ant troopers are, but they are blocked off in the final. It doesn't have the clear objective. The first track block is also missing in the beta. We then jump into underground coin collecting, where a decent amount has changed. First off, you only need to collect 28 coins in the beta, and the bricks are arranged differently between the two versions. We then go into the online portion, and when downloading a course we were able to see 2 changes. The first one was likely done just for the trailer, where the world record holder doesn't have a me. And the second one is that instead of view comments like in the final, it says see comments. I think view comments sounds better, so I'm happy this was changed. I wonder if you were supposed to start out with a certain number of maker points. That's all the changes I could find for the beta and development of Super Mario Maker 2. If you made it this far and you enjoyed the video, then remember to please give it a like, as I worked extremely hard on this video, so it would be much appreciated. A YouTuber by the name of Beta64 makes a lot of content on the betas of games, and he was the inspiration for this video. I don't know if he's working on a Mario Maker 2 video, but I'm excited to see one if he does. If I missed anything, then feel free to let me know in the comments. But anyway, that's it for this video. Bye.